bring in syndicated columnist Charles Krauthammer, who joins us from Washington. Charles, welcome to our cafeteria. What do you think of this election night?
Well, let's start with the Democrats. I think the most striking elements are race and gender. Of course, race doesn't show up because Iowa and New Hampshire are lily white, which is why I think in the end, even though this is a terrible night for Hillary, I do think in the end it's not going to matter because a large part of the Democratic constituency is African American, and Sanders is going to try to appeal to it by pandering tomorrow. He's going to be meeting in New York, but I'm not sure that's really going to help him. The other one that struck me in the exit polls is the gender issue. Sanders wins the men by almost 30%, and Sanders also won among the women, which I think is a refutation of Madeleine Albright, who said just a couple of days ago that women who don't help women, essentially who don't support Hillary, have a special place in hell. Well, I think it was Mark Twain who said, heaven for the climate, hell for the company. It looks like the sisterhood of the marching pantsuits is going to have to dress light. If she loses women, it shows you how much of a shellacking she took. On the other side, of course, this is a huge night for Trump. Not just the margin, which I think the word huge actually is going to become spelled with a Y, is going to enter the dictionary this year as the word of the year. But I mean, his margin over number 2 is really astonishing. But the most interesting element is the one event in the debate, the hit that was put on Rubio by Christie, who incidentally appears not to have been helped. It was something like a suicide attack. But the others have been helped. But the one who's helped the most is Trump, because now you have a muddle among the so-called mainstream lane. It's easy to see 4 of them, 3 of them, possibly 4 proceeding. And as we saw with the late deciders, Rubio won them in Iowa, which gave him a strong kick, but he lost them in New Hampshire, lost by 8 points to Kasich. Imagine if those numbers were switched, Kasich and Rubio. He would likely be number 2 now and have the momentum. So he looks like he's been stopped in his tracks right now. And imagine one other thing. Trump gets over 30%, which is extremely impressive in a big field. But had the field been winnowed tonight, to one person for the mainstream lane, Cruz and Trump, 30% or so means a dead heat among the 3. The longer that is postponed, and New Hampshire has postponed it, the better it is for Trump.
Quickly, Charles, if Marco Rubio finishes 5th or 6th, what does that mean for his campaign?
Well, he continues because he has strong sort of essential elements on paper. He's the best candidate, I think, against Hillary. His youth, being Hispanic, his energy, his ideas, and his sort of charisma. But he has been terribly hurt by one event, and there have been instances in history with Muskie in New Hampshire 40 years ago, with other events, single events that not only hurt the candidate, but that give a storyline to him. I mean, after all, you showed a bunch of guys showing up in robot suits outside a Rubio event. You can be sure that's going to be hammered. He's going to have to overcome that. I think he can do it in South Carolina or in the SEC states. But this now is going to be a very hard slog for him, much harder than it would have been otherwise.
Charles, as always, thank you. And it looks like your bets in Canada Casino are paying off on Trump tonight.
We are just getting some